This video depicts topics of violence, murder, and death and is not suitable for all audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
Saint Marcellius is a significant figure in early Christianity who served as Pope of the Roman Catholic Church from June 30th to 296 to his death on October 25th, 304. He was born in Rome, and his life and papacy were deeply intertwined with the turbulent period of the Diocletianic persecution, one of the most severe persecutions of Christians in the Roman Empire. Born as Marcellinus in Rome and during the Roman Empire, details about his early life and exact date of birth are sparse, which are typical of early Christian figures. He was elected to the papacy on June 30th, 296. His predecessor was Pope Caius, also known as Saint Gaius, and his successor was Pope Marcellus I. His approximate duration of papacy was 8 years. The Diocletianic persecution was initiated by the Emperor Diocletian in 303 AD. This period of intense persecution of Christians coincided with Marcellius' papacy, with the early years of the persecution demanding that Christians renounce their faith and perform pagan sacrifices. Marcellinus faced significant challenges during this persecution, according to some sources, including the Liber Pontificalis. He was said to have faltered under pressure and offered incense to pagan gods. This act of apostasy, however, remains debated among historians and church scholars, as there's no concrete contemporary evidence to confirm it. Some sources suggest he later repented and resumed his papal duties, but the extent of his actions are unclear. Marcellius was buried in the catacombs of Priscilla on Via Salaria in Rome upon his death on October 25th, 304 in Rome. This location was a common burial site for many early Christian martyrs and popes. His canonization was venerated as a saint shortly after his passing, and his feast day is celebrated on April 26th. Despite the controversies surrounding his actions during the persecution, he's remembered for his leadership during a period of severe trials for the Christian community. Marcellinus' papacy is critical for understanding the struggles of early church under Roman persecution. His leadership period highlights the difficulties faced by Christians and their leaders, balancing faith and survival under threat of death. The debates about his alleged apostasy reflect the broader challenges of historical documentation and transmission of early church history. St. Marcellinus' life and papacy were marked by significant trials and controversies. Despite the lack of details, contemporary records, his legacy as a leader during one of Christianity's most challenging periods endures. His story reflects insight into the early church's resilience and the complexities of maintaining faith under pressure. The iconography of Saint Marcellinus, like that of many early saints, is rooted in the traditions and artistic expressions that had developed over centuries. Depictions of Saint Marcellinus often reflect his status as pope and martyr, and they include specific symbols associated with his life and legend. Here's a brief but detailed description of his iconography, along with notable artistic examples. As a pope, St. Marcellus is typically depicted wearing papal vestments, including the papal tiara or mitre, in later depictions, the pallium and a cup. Cross keys, which symbolize the keys of the kingdom of heaven, a common emblem for popes. There's also typically includes a book or scroll representing his role as teacher and guardian of Christian doctrine. Many iconography will include the palm branch, a symbol of martyrdom often held in the hand or shown nearby, as well as the crown of martyrdom, sometimes depicted as a crown which signifies his martyr status. As well as being buried in the catacombs of Priscilla, some depictions may include imagery associated with Christian burial sites in the early days of the faith. The fresco of Saint Marcellinus in the catacombs of Priscilla, Rome, is one of the earliest representations showing Marcellius in a humble, prayerful pose, surrounded by early Christian symbols. The frescoes here reflect the simplicity and solemnity of early Christian art. The illuminated manuscript from the Liber Pontificalis, made in the 9th century and found in the Vatican Library in Vatican City. This manuscript includes miniature paintings of various popes, including Marcellinus, depicted with papal regalia. The manuscripts provide detailed and richly colored depictions, emphasizing his authority and sanctity. The stained glass window of Saint Marcellinus, which is found in the Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris. It is a detailed stained glass window showing Marcellinus in full papal attire holding a palm branch. The rich colors and Gothic style emphasize his role as both a pope and a martyr. The statue of Saint Marcellinus in the St. Peter's Basilica, Vatican City, which was built by various artists. These sculptures within St. Peter's Basilica and other significant churches in Rome depict Marcellinus in papal attire, often accompanied by a palm branch and sometimes the keys of St. Peter's. Finally, St. Marcellinus and St. Peter, was done by Guillaume Signac in the early 20th century and is found in a private collection. This painting depicts both saints together, emphasizing their companionship in faith and martyrdom. Marcellinus is shown with a serene expression and dressed in traditional papal robes, holding a book and a palm branch. The iconography of Saint Marcellinus is rich and varied, reflecting his dual role as pope and martyr. Artistic representations from frescoes and mosaics to stained glass windows and sculptures capture the essence of his life and legacy. His depictions often emphasize his papal authority through regalia and his martyrdom through symbols like the palm branch and crown. These elements together help to convey his significance in the early Christian church and his enduring legacy as a saint. The historical records about Saint Marcellus, who was pope from 296 to 304 AD, are sparse and not well documented, especially concerning specific miracles attributed to him. The information available primarily revolves around his role as pope during the Diocletianic persecution rather than detailed accounts of miracles. However, here's a brief presentation of general traditions and legends associated with his sanctity and leadership. Intercessory miracles. While there are no specific miracles that are extensively documented, many early saints are credited with intercessory miracles, meaning that their prayers and interventions were believed to have brought about divine assistance. Followers and early Christians might have attributed various personal miracles to his intercession, such as healing from illness or protection during times of persecution. Many legends also of Saint Marcellus often intertwine with that of Saint Peter the Exorcist. Both are said to have been martyred together during the Diocletian persecution. According to tradition, their steadfastness in faith, despite the intense persecution, was considered miraculous. Their courage and ability to inspire fellow Christians to remain steadfast could be viewed as a miracle of spiritual fortitude. Saint Marcellinus and Saint Peter, both in Rome in the Roman Empire during the Diocletian persecution during the year 304 AD, has them involved in one popular legend being that they were arrested and imprisoned together. During their imprisonment, they are said to have continued to preach and convert their fellow prisoners, including their jailer Artemius and his family. The act of converting others under the threat of death can be considered miraculous due to the transformative power of their faith and witness. Given the lack of detailed contemporary records for Marcellius's time, much of what is considered miraculous about his life comes from the broader context of early Christian hagiography. The miracles attributed to saints from this period often reflect the virtues then exemplified rather than specific documented events. Marcellus' leadership during the severe persecution itself is often viewed as a form of miraculous endurance and divine guidance. Leading the Christian community through such a time would have required extraordinary faith and resilience, seen as divinely inspired. In conclusion, the miracles attributed to Saint Marcellinus are more implicit, tied to his role as a spiritual leader during a critical period of early Christianity. The general reverence and veneration he received leading to his sainthood suggests that his life and actions were seen as divinely blessed, even if specific miracles are not extensively recorded in historical texts. The canonization process for Saint Marcellinus, like many early saints, does not follow the formalized procedures that the Roman Catholic Church uses today. The process for canonization as it exists now was developed much later. Early saints, particularly those from the few first centuries of Christianity, were often recognized by popular acclaim and the veneration of local communities rather than through an official canonization process by the Pope or the Vatican. Shortly after his passing on October 25th in 304 in Rome, Saint Marcellus was venerated as a martyr during the Diocletian persecution. The immediate recognition of his sanctity was due to the circumstances of his martyrdom and his role as a leader of the Christian community. A local cult and veneration surrounded the catacombs of Priscilla in Via Salaria, Rome, where Marcellinus was buried. The early Christian community in Rome would gather at his tomb to honor his memory and seek his intercession, a common practice for martyrs and saints of that period. Over time, the veneration of Marcellinus would spread beyond the local community. The early church recognized saints through their continued and widespread practices of veneration of their relics, celebrating their feast day, and recounting their stories in liturgy and teaching. His feast day is April 26th, while his Memorial Day is June 2nd. Despite documentation lacking, there is the Liber Pontificalis, which was compiled in the 6th century and includes a list of popes and brief accounts of their lives. Marcellinus' inclusion in this document reflects his recognized status as a pope and martyr by the broader church. The Liber Pontificalis helped to solidify the recognition of early saints, including Marcellinus, by providing an official record of their contributions and sanctity. The formal process for canonization, as it is known today, was established much later, around the 12th century, under Pope Alexander III. This process involved detailed investigations and papal declarations, which were not in place during Marcellinus' time. Although Marcellus was never formally canonized through these later procedures, his status as a saint was reaffirmed by the enduring veneration and recognition by the Church throughout the centuries. Saint Marcellus was venerated as a saint shortly after his passing, and his martyrdom during the Diocletian procedures. This veneration reflects the practices of early Christians and the church of the time in recognizing and honoring those who exemplified extraordinary faith or martyrdom, contributing to the development of Christian sanctity and tradition.